You can't talk about the history of the country music we love without mentioning bluegrass. That's right, bluegrass music. With its haunting melodies, great storytelling, and the most incredible musicianship you've ever heard, it's not only one of the most respected styles of music of the past, but it's also incredibly popular in today's hit songs. Without bluegrass, country music simply wouldn't be what it is today. And when you gather together some of the most respected pickers and singers in the bluegrass world and have them sit a spell and share stories and songs, well, that sounds like a slice of heaven to me. Hosted by bluegrass legend Ricky Skaggs and Opry star Bill Anderson, this amazing gathering is unlike anything you've ever seen before or ever will again. Because the bluegrass legends of yesterday gathering with some of the stars of today doesn't happen very often. Quite simply, this is a once-in-a-lifetime get-together of bluegrass greatness. We hope you enjoy it. Welcome to Simply Bluegrass.
I got it figured out that if Buck White plays the piano, then the Whites are a country band. He picks up the mandolin, you become a bluegrass band. Is that kind of the way you do it? And then you add Jerry Douglas and Ricky Skaggs.
The acoustic bass makes a little bit of the difference, too. However, sometimes...
You play the electric bass on most of the country stuff, sure?
Most of the time at the Opry, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are no strangers to Country's family reunion, and it's great to have you here on the Simply Bluegrass portion. The Whites. Yeah.
Like a warm and tender kiss in an early morning mist, while the fog hangs on the cane. Good morning, country rain. Good morning, country rain. Good to be back home again. Magic that I can't explain. In a good old country rain. I have often sat for hours just watching rain fall on the flowers. Oh, I hope I never change. Good morning, country rain. Good morning, country rain. Good to be back home again. Magic that I can't explain. In a good old country rain. Many times I think of you and all the changes I've gone through. It could drive a girl insane. Good morning, country rain. Good morning, country rain. Good to be back home again. Magic that I can't explain. Good old country rain. Good morning, country rain. It's good to be back home again. Magic that I can't explain. In a good old country rain.
The Whites and Ricky and Jerry. That's great. Sharon was telling me that song was written by a great bluegrass writer named Eddie Raven. didn't know Eddie wrote that song. Mac Wiseman, it's worth the price of admission just to sit here and talk to you, and now I'm getting ready to listen to you sing. You were telling me during the break that you've just cut a new record with Merle Haggard?
Sure did. What I'm going to sing is one of the songs that's on the CD, yeah.
Did he make you record all of his old songs?
No, when he called me about it, I thought he'd want to do that, and I was in favor of it because I love his songs. But he asked me to do 6 of mine and 7 of his, yeah.
Wow. Did you go out to California to do this, or did you come here? Or?
Did it right here in town, down on 16th, yeah.
You've recorded with some very unique, different types of people. You cut that record with John Prine, which was so good, and now with Merle. Name some other people you've recorded.
I did an album, gospel album with Charlie Daniels, too.
That's right.
And cut a song with Woody Herman one time, My Blue Heaven. And just a couple of, did an old thing called Stepping Up and Go on the West Coast, and had a couple of great jazz guitar players playing acoustical double guitars, Barney Kessel and can't think of the other one's name now. Goodness. There goes breakfast.
People probably don't know. Is everybody here aware that Mac used to run a record company? He was the head of the country division of Dot Records back in the late 50s, I know, out in California.
There on Sunset and Vine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You've done it all.
Well, done quite a bit.
But I tell you what, tell me the name of your book. What's it going to be called?
Well, we don't have a name for it yet. I think it might be something like All Is Fit to Print or something like that.
The original Big Mac.
See, it's going to start from your very childhood.
One day I was
right
born right up, and I went up to the valley and got a cameraman. We went around the little house where I was born is just to hold the hillside now, but the cistern's still there.
Should any of us in this room be worried about anything you wrote in the book?
No.
You sure?
I've got one behind the counter I'm coming out with, though.
You got you a pretty good guitar picker sitting next to you over here.
He's learning.
He works cheap.
I have to tell you, once in a while, when I first came here to Nashville, the Opry, he was running around in diapers. That kind of tags his age, you know. But he's a goodie now. We got several little things cooking, you know.
Well, of course, he's got the pedigree in his blood.
Oh, yeah.
With his dad, Don Reno, great banjo player, and Reno and Smiley for many, many years. What was it like, Ronnie? We'll talk more when you're going to sing, but just growing up around it, of course, I guess you knew it any different. You probably thought everybody's daddy was on television, didn't you?
Well, actually, you don't think about it when you're growing up and you're young. I do remember traveling with Dad and Red, and my thoughts was what a beautiful mandolin I had. You know, I was proud of that because it looked new and it was old, and so. But I had no earthly idea what was going on. I didn't know where they got the songs. I just heard them sing them a lot, and I just figured I didn't know. But everybody liked them, and it was a wonderful time. I know Sam Bush and I had talked about it many years ago. What a great time it was when we grew up and got into this business of traditional bluegrass music. So it was just wonderful times, and they're great memories. And of course, like Mac said, I've been knowing Mac since I was a baby running around in diapers. And and been knowing you for quite a while too, I might add.
Don't talk about that. No, I'm proud to have known you, and I loved your dad and loved that whole group. I spent a lot of time around Roanoke back in those days.
I know you did.
We were together many times.
I know you did.
Hit some chords and let Mac turn loose and sing us a few songs.
What?
Mac's going to do one of his. Actually, this is on the new CD. In fact, I had the privilege and pleasure of producing this on Mac and Merle.
Oh wow!
And so it's a wonderful project. And I do have to tell one on Merle since he's not here. He called me up the other day and he said he loves bluegrass. By the way, that's one of his favorite musics. And he called me up. And he said, Ronnie, he said, now you know, he said it's legal for you to throw a banjo capo up on your dash and you can park in handicap parking.
This guy was going through customs in London. And the customs guy had him open this banjo case. And when he opened it, there was 2 submachine guns in it. The guy just waved him on and said, I thought for a minute you had a banjo.
Can we talk you into singing?
Yeah, I'll be glad to.
We'll get Adam to kick it off.
I'll deck my brow with roses, the love one baby there. The gems that others gave me will shine within my hair. And even those who know me will think my heart is light. My heart may break tomorrow, but I'll be all smiles tonight. And when the room he entered, the bride upon his arm, I stood and gazed upon him as though he were a charm. Once he smiled upon her, and once he smiled on me. They knew not what I suffered, but they saw no change in me. It's over and all have gone to rest. I'll think of him, dear mother, the one that I love best. Once I know he loved me, but now he's cold and strange. Friends that I forgot the words they like it, but have brought this change.
Pack Wiseman,
Wow.
one of the most beloved
Good Lord.
people in our business. I'll
Yes.
be all smiles tonight. That's just incredible.
Speaking of smiling, I was just looking over there and watching Dierks just
My
like,
face
his
hurts.
face is starting to hurt.
I was just thinking the same thing. My whole face hurts from this whole day so far. I just walked in the front door. My face really does hurt from smiling. It's a real.
How old are you, Dierks?
30-something.
30-something. It's way on up there.
Way on up there. I'm curious. I'm just curious how you
38.
became such a
gosh,
fan
I just-
and devotee of
Yeah,
bluegrass music.
I'm just sitting there, in this business, you don't take a lot of time to reflect. You're usually just trying to stay present where you are and worrying about where you're going to be that day and in the future trying to get somewhere. But just being in this room just blows my mind because my perspective on it is really unique. I'm a fan, probably first and foremost, but I'm also friends with a lot of people in this room. And there's heroes of mine in this room that I don't even know them personally that well, but I know them so well through their music, and I've listened to their music so much I feel like I know them. But I moved here in '94 to Nashville, and I immediately was turned off by the music scene just because I had this picture in my mind of what country music was, and a lot of songwriters, and more organic, real sustenance kind of thing. And I got here and realized it wasn't like that at all. It was more of a business, and there's a lot of people that weren't writing their own music and really trying to follow. A lot of people were trying to be like Garth Brooks, and I just, I'm from Arizona, and I don't wear a hat, and I don't starch my jeans, and I don't, much to my dad's chagrin, I usually don't tuck my shirt in, and so I just kind of got turned off by country music, and a friend of mine was reading the Nashville scene and saw something about a band called the Sidemen playing the Station Inn every Tuesday night. And I walked in the front door. It says 1994. I was 19 years old. And it's like, it'd be the same as, it's so weird comparison, but like, Columbus discovering the New World. It's like when you discover new music, it's a whole new, it's like discovering a new continent or something. It really was. I walked in that door. I remember looking left and seeing Terry Eldridge, who is strange for me because he's one of my good friends, but he's also this real iconic figure in my musical life. Walking and seeing these guys on the stage, it's about 6 inches tall, there's 3 or 4 lights up there that work, and there's no smoke, no lights, no videos being shot, just a bunch of guys wearing baggy jeans that weren't, starched up or anything, and white tennis shoes,
I'm
moving
home.
up there playing, yeah. And it was these guys, man. I immediately just it changed my whole world, and I could sit there and talk about it for hours. It's really weird because I'm tied to everyone in this room in some way through that initial encounter, through that band, the Sidemen, through Terry Eldridge, and the guys that kind of made up that band were a combination of guys from the Osmond Brothers and from the Del McCoury band, and some of the guys that played with Monroe, and it was just from there, just hanging with Terry, and I didn't miss a Tuesday night for probably 5 years. The one Tuesday night I missed was a snowstorm in February, and I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to go to the station tonight. I'm going to stay home.
put on
My
the
friend
records.
called me. Yeah, a friend called me that later that night and said, you missed it. The power went out. Vince Gill and Amy Grant showed up. Everyone went into the back room and had a little, just gathering back there. And so then it was like, the one Tuesday night I missed. So that recommitted me to never missing another Tuesday night again. And I could go on for forever. That spilled into Larry Coral on Wednesday nights, and my weekend usually started on Tuesday nights. Just by the time the weekend rolled around, I was done because I'd seen the Sidemen on Tuesday, then Coral on Wednesday. But between Terry Eldridge and then Jason Carter of the Del McCoury band, Jason really. Yeah, I immediately fell in love with the Osmond Brothers and with the Del McCoury band, became a huge Del head, right away. Went to see those guys, Well, I think when first Terry used to take him back to see the Osmond Brothers play, Immediately became a huge disciple of the Osmond Brothers, and then with Jason and the Del McCoury band, went to hang out with them a lot, and went to Telluride Bluegrass Festival with them, and Jason and I drove back across the country together. Got arrested in Arkansas. Well, I didn't get arrested. We got pulled over.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I'll break in there.
He was trying. Almost got arrested.
Jason told me, we was playing Telluride, and of course we flew out there because it's hard to bus it, We flew out, and Jace, at the end of the show, he said, "Now I'm riding back with Dierks, And I said, "Where? Back to Nashville?" Yeah. He said, "I'm going back with him in his truck." He had a dually truck, didn't he?
A white truck. Is that up front? Same truck.
Same truck.
And so I said, man, you know how far that is? Oh, that's all right, we're buddies. Of course, they'd been buddies and I didn't know it, you know, and I heard the name then, but I really didn't know Dierks. And of course, you had some other buddies too, I think, that were there. But then I got to know Dierks soon after that, you know, and they got stopped in Arkansas. You was about to tell that story, wouldn't you?
Yeah. We got pulled over, and I thought it was, the police officer. He said, you know why I pulled you over? And I said, I have no idea. I don't know. He said, well, we smelled marijuana as you drove by, and we're in Arkansas. That's what he said. We smelled. That's exactly what he said to us, and I thought that was the strangest thing because I don't do any of that. And I said, we're just coming back from the Telluride Bluegrass Festival. Jason Carter's a member of the McCoury band, the Bluegrassers, and I thought that was a cool thing. He immediately, that was a big red flag. This is a true story. He said, oh, really? Coming back from the Telluride Bluegrass Festival? All right, stay right here. And then 2 more cars came up behind us. One had the dog. They brought the dog out and sniffed all over our car. And he got Jason and I in separate places and started asking me if I'd ever seen the inside of an Arkansas State prison before. And I'm like, and the dog started smelling. This is crazy story. He started sniffing one of my tires, and going crazy over the tire. And he goes, do we need to look inside that tire, my rear tire? And you can if you want to. I mean, I we were trying to make it back to the Station Inn on time because it was Tuesday night and Jason was trying to get back to the station. And, it was the most bizarre thing. And finally he said, all right, we're gonna let you guys go. And it was about an hour and a half they stopped us. It was the most bizarre thing, but it was a good bonding experience for Jason and I. Hey, I could just go on for a long time. But we stopping at every truck stop and picking up, cassettes of Reno and Smiley and just, anything we could find. He really turned me on to a lot of stuff. And him and Jason and Terry, and Terry really, that band, the Sidemen, listening to Terry and hanging out with El and his love of Bobby and Sonny and of George Jones and really between the Sidemen and the Osmond brothers really learned the similarities between country and bluegrass. The Sidemen would play a lot of Haggard songs and as well as bluegrass songs, and then you see the stuff that the Osmond brothers did where they really mixed country and bluegrass together. Yeah. One of those bands that really kind of was the bridge between genres, and it was that experience and being around those guys in the bluegrass community that brought me back into country music and showed me what country music could be. Kind of a weird way to get back to the roots of country, but really through the Sidemen and Terry and hanging out with Jason and the Del McCoury band, and certainly.
Well, thanks for sharing that, man.
Bobby and Sonny.
We're not gonna let you sing right now, though.
Good. All right. But delay me as long as possible. I'm having fun, and it's gonna be hard to form any words. My cheeks hurt so much from smiling.
A while ago, I talked to you about introducing these guys up here because you kind of put this group together, or at least got them all to come out here and be a part of this. And the thing I want to emphasize to the people that are watching this is most of these people, Del and Bobby and Rhonda, so many of these people, Doyle, these people work with their own groups and their own bands, all the time, and seldom, if ever, just work with a group. But they were all so excited about this bunch being here that they all very unselfishly came out here and wanted to be a part of it.
Well, I think all of the artists that have bands respect these guys up here so much as musicians and players and people that it was easy for them to say, okay, I get it, I understand. We can't bring everybody's band up, but if we got a great house band that can, that can play our stuff and then I'll come and do it, which was perfect, And this is Stuart Duncan on the fiddle. Stuart, first call player here in town, and he's the best of the best. He loves Benny Martin, and he loves all the old guys, and has such a respect for Art Stamper and
Ricky Skaggs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was scared to death standing there in front of you, son. I tell you, believe me. But Stuart's played on a bunch of my records too, and love his playing, love his family, love his heart for music and the old stuff. And Brian Sutton on the guitar. Brian's another one that's been in my band for a long time, and we're connected in our hearts and love.
Can't get rid of you.
Can't get rid of him at all. And he's just one of the great guitar players here in town, or anywhere, any town any town he's at. And he plays everything too. I mean, when he does sessions, he brings a load of stuff. And you laughed at me bringing 4 instruments. His car's full all the time. When he goes and does sessions, because he plays all kinds of great instruments. Barry Bell's on the bass. Barry's a great bass player. Actually worked on my last record, Music to My Ears, and just did a fantastic job playing bass. I always wanted to record some with Barry, and because I loved his work with Alison Krauss and Union Station, and he's produced a lot of records. Sierra Hull, one of them. He produced Sierra's record a couple of years ago, and just a great guy. And he married up. He's like me. He married way up.
Amen.
Yeah, got a fine little old youngin', Marshall, and he's a dandy. Miss Allison. And playing the mandolin is Adam Steffi, one of the great mandolin players around. And we love Adam's playing, and he's won so many times Mandolin Player of the Year, and you know, I heard him say something one time when he won his award, just to show how humble a man he is. He said, you know, if you know me, it's okay to know me, because you know I'm glad you do, but you know, if you know Jesus, then you know the best. You know everything. If you can know Christ, that's the thing that we all want and all need to know. If you know Christ, then you really know something. If you know, just knowing me is not a big deal, but knowing Him is everything, and that just shows Adam's heart, and I love that about him.
You're the big deal.
Yeah, he's the big sexy. That's what they call it. Big sexy.
Not so big anymore.
And a great musician. He's as good a fiddle player as he is banjo player, and he's a dang good banjo player. Ron Stewart. And, Ron and Adam both work in the Boxcars, a great band of musicians that have worked in other bands, and now they've formed a band of their own, and they're just great players. Ron played with J.D. Crowe for a long time, and it's amazing to play fiddle with a great banjo player like J.D., you know, but anyway, so glad to have these guys. So glad that, you know, they could all be out, you know, doing double scale, you know, sessions today, but I think everybody wanted to be here. Everybody that's here really wanted to be here today, and I know we had some that you know, that we asked that just couldn't physically be here and make it, and but hopefully we can do another one of these sometime and get. There's some of our elders I'd still like to get here sometime. You know.
Have you given this band a name? Are they just now known as the Family Reunion Bluegrass Band?
They're the Powerful Good Boo.
You mentioned something. I had not heard anybody mention Benny Martin's name for years.
Oh.
He played an 8-string fiddle. Stuart, does anybody play an 8-string fiddle anymore?
If anybody has 4 nails, I could convert this one. Actually, I've tried it at home.
Don't
it
try
never
this
left
at
the
home.
house. I spent about 4 hours just trying to tune it.
Yeah.
Was he the only one that ever did that, Benny?
I believe he's the only one crazy enough to do something like that. No, he, you know, he did some recordings with that, and he was an amazing guy that just kept, you know, he always wanted to, he was always wanting to innovate, you know, and push. The stuff he did with Flatt and Scruggs is absolutely, hands down, just brilliance, you know, and
his intro to his own record of Ice Cold Love's one of the greatest fiddle things I think I ever heard.
he was ridiculous. He really was. I mean, he just, and it was so much a part of his personality. When he played, he just put his heart out there, you know, he'd pull that bow, and the way he would come in before a solo started, you know, and just, it was just so finesse and such a class, you know. I know Bobby's biggest fan of Benny Martin ever, you know, and
Sure, yeah.
just
He was
ridiculous.
he was just one of a kind.
Yes,
He was just
absolutely.
one of a kind. He did things. He did things with a fiddle and a bow. It's just amazing. I asked him one time about some bow licks, you know, how he did them. He couldn't show me how he did that.
Wow.
And he said, I don't know. I really don't know what you're talking about. He said, it just comes out like that.
Yeah.
But he couldn't explain to me what he really was doing with the bow and some of those tunes. And he was just an amazing person. And I'll tell you, John Hartford could tell some great things that Benny Martin
Yeah.
did and his playing, because he hung around, and him and Benny was good friends, you know.
Yeah.
So, but Benny Martin was he's just one of a kind.
Yeah. Someone Took My Place with You is one of the great solos of all time.
I'll Go Steppin' Two.
And I'll Go Steppin' Two, yeah.
He's an incredible singer.
I'll Go Steppin' Two. I've said it before. I think it's in the running, and of course, if I get a debate started here, we'll never stop. But it's in the running for the greatest bluegrass record ever recorded.
Yeah.
And a large part of that is Benny's fiddle work
Yeah.
on that. But Earl and Lester, everybody they were just wonderful on that
Yeah.
on that recording.
And it wasn't just his solos, his backup work was just
Yeah.
just ridiculous good. I mean, it's just
Absolutely.
the way he played, you know, that D against E, you know, that's it, that's it.
He knew exactly where to come in at.
Yes, he did.
I had the privilege of working with Benny for several years. He and my dad played together for several years. Benny was wonderful at setting up an instrument. He's the greatest at setting up a fiddle. He could take a $100 fiddle and set it up, and it sounded like a $5,000 fiddle. And I traveled with Benny for a while, and I had an old mandolin. Bobby's wearing my old lower mandolin. Anyway, it was needing fretting, and Benny said, "Hey, let me put you some new frets in there." I said, "Okay." I said, "We was over in Knoxville in a trailer somewhere over there." He said, he said, "I got some fret wire." He said, "I'll just put them in there." I said, "Well, you got anything to put them in there?" He said, "Well, I got a screwdriver." I said, "All right." He said, "Be right back." And he went out and got a screwdriver and a little hammer, and he hammered my frets out of my mandolin and never chipped one piece of it.
My
and
goodness.
refretted that Gibson mandolin of mine. He was just that good.
Wow.
Now, if knowing that today, I don't think I'd turn him loose on it.
No, he got worse. I'll tell you, I got to tell you a quick story. I had a show at the Ryman to do, and this was years ago. This was when I was still playing in my country band, but they had booked me there to do a bluegrass night. So I had called Mr. Monroe, and I called Earl, and I called Roy Husky Jr., and I called Benny Martin, and that was the band. Wow. And we went upstairs and tried to rehearse some songs that we were going to do. I had me a little list of songs I wanted to do, and them guys never did a set list. You know, they had the set list up here. They just read the crowd, and they, you know, Lester always knew what to do. But anyway, I got up there, and it was like, 40 minutes before showtime, and we were trying to, run through songs and decide what in the heck we were going to do. And Mr. Monroe was sitting there, and he was had his mandolin in his hand, and he's just sitting there like that. And I looked over to Earl, and his right hand was just like this, just shaking, and I thought, oh, God, and Husky was, smoking them little cigar things, and Benny was wired to the max. I mean, he was, and talking like a duck. I mean, it's just like, remember how he got there to where, and he couldn't talk, and he was, and had this bandana around his head,
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, God, how am I going to, what's going to happen?
God said, don't blame me.
Don't throw this on me. And so we get down there, and when we got on stage, Earl's hand was just like a rock, solid, steady. Munn woke up, clicked them old heels, and stood up there like an old rooster, And Benny was absolutely killing it. And me and Husky was looking at each other, and he's going, And it was the greatest, one of the greatest things, greatest experiences of my whole life to get to play with my heroes, because every one of those guys had been a hero to me. And I don't think that there is a tape or anything that exists of that show. I mean, if that had been videotaped, God. But anyway, I've got it up here.
I got a couple of real quick, short stories about Benny Martin. We played a festival up near Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and it was on an Indian reservation. Had that high fence around it, and I flew up near there and got a rent-a-car and went out, and I got almost to the festival grounds, and I saw about 8 or 10 police cars sitting around this little church. Well, the Indians had them fenced out. They wouldn't let the law in there, so they was sitting down there at that church. If they came out of there and was wired a little bit or drinking, you know, they'd snap them there, see. But they left them people staying there for 2 or 3 days after the festival to sober up. I swear they did. But Benny could encored every tune he did.
Wow.
He was hot up there, I'm telling you what's the dang truth. And he had me on his last album that he made, a number of artists.
Yeah, I was
And
on that.
He'd written a lot more songs than I thought he had, but what he wanted me to do was we all take a bath on Saturday so we can go to church on Sunday. But one quick John Hartford thing too, he used to be pretty floating in the air sometime, you know. I was sitting at home one night, just taking my shoes off, getting ready to go to bed, 10, 11 o'clock, and the phone rang, and it was John. He was down in his studio somewhere downtown wanting to record, and was recording. He wanted me to come down and sing on a song. I said, John, I don't know your song. I could tell the way he talked that I had to get like him if I was going to do anything like that. But I went down there, you know what he wanted me to sing on? And we did, he released it. Granny, won't you smoke some marijuana?
Marijuana.
Yeah, that was it. He released it on Flying Fish. Yeah.
There's a few stories in this room.
There is some stories in here.
Watching Del McCoury sitting over there grinning every time we mention Mr. Monroe's. How many years did you play in Mr. Monroe's band?
I only played a year. From
Oh, really?
February 63 to February 64.
Oh.
And in that year, Kenny Baker quit. He had been there for quite a while, you know. And Bill Keith, me and him started about the same time, and he quit in that year, and so.
And got a new name.
He got a brand new name.
Yeah,
it was
Brad.
Bill.
Yeah, Brad Keith.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, while he was working for Bill,
Yeah.
you know.
They said there's only one Bill in this outfit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Bill said to him, he said, what is your full name? And he said, William Bradford Keith. And he said, you'll be Brad. So he went by that name that whole time, you know. And he never called me Dale. He called me Dale McCoury.
McCoury.
That's the way he pronounced my name. Yeah.
Dale McCoury.
Dale McCoury. Yeah, that's right.
Do you feel lost without Ronnie and your boys and everybody here today? You think this band could hang in there with you?
I tell you what, I don't feel as lost as I do nervous. You know, I tell you what, all the people in this room, you know, now you can go out and play a show where there's thousands of people, you know, and they're all great bluegrass fans, you know, and it's easy to do, seems like. You know, you get a little bit nervous, but I'll tell you, when you play in front of this audience.
I agree with that.
Or I do. I get nervous. And such a great backup band up there, you know, and all these great singers and musicians, you know.
Well, I've never seen a time that Del McCoury couldn't hold his own, so share a song with us.
Yeah, Dale.
Well, I'll try, I guess.
Where's that new guitar?
You know, I just recorded a record can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. Not too long ago, and it's been released now, you know, and I did a song on there. It was written by Bill Anderson and Steve Warner, you know, and so I put a song on there called Amnesia. And so Bill said to me, we was playing the Opry one night, and he said, I heard you recorded one of our songs, you know, and I said, yeah. I said, Amnesia, and yeah, he said, that's it. And he said, why don't you do it tonight? And I said, I can't remember it. So you've got amnesia.
But I tell you what, I am proud of that record, and I appreciate you doing the song.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, I like the song. It's hard to sing.
It's got a lot of words.
Yeah, it does. Can't do it tonight or today. But I'll do a little tune here entitled 50-50 Chance, I guess.
Yeah, all right.
She walked all over me like I was nothing. My last speck of pride is gone, you see. She took me for a ride and I'm on it. It's a ride I won't forget so easily. Took a 50-50 chance on love and lost it. I gambled on the bitter and the sweet. She flattened my wallet and my ego. This time around I feel that I've been beat. Guess I'll go on trying and believing someday someone will come along again. Someone understanding, true and honest, so I won't have to go through this again. Now, boys, when you find love, I advise you, it's hard to find and harder yet to keep. Those pretty girls you're thinking while you're sleeping, they have a plan for you that's nice and neat. Took a 50-50 chance on love and lost. Gamble on the bitter and the sweet. She flattened my wallet and my ego. This time around I feel that I've been beat. They have a plan for you that's nice and neat. Turn your head, she'll knock you off your feet.
I believe that guitar's got a few miles on it.
Son, listen.
I want to say that I love your rhythm. Your rhythm is the bomb. I love it. I love your singing too, but I love your rhythm, man. It's so cool.
Thank you. Thanks.
I have a story. I don't have a
Well,
story.
I learned a lot from Mac Wiseman, you see.
Oh, Mac's a great rhythm player.
We've talked about stories. My favorite one that I've heard about Dale, and I don't know who said it to you, but anyway, his B string was buzzing.
Oh, it was Brent. Brent King.
Brent King, is that what it was? It was buzzing real bad. And he
In the
said,
studio,
"But,
yeah.
Dale, your B string's buzzing." He said, "Sounds good, don't it?"
That was Brent. That's our studio engineer. Yeah.
I hate a B string, don't you?
I do too. But not the way you play it. I love it.
I try to deaden it all I can.
I love it.
Yeah.
Y'all heard what Grandpa said about B strings, didn't you?
No.
Grandpa told me one time, he said, I don't hate but two things in the world. That's Hitler and B strings. I notice this, and I'm not trying to get into commercializing for anybody, but is a Martin, is that the best bluegrass guitar?
It has been for a long time. There's a lot of great guitar builders, Dana Bourgeois, and, now
Various and sundry.
Paul Reed Smith's building really good acoustic guitars, I think. But there's so many great builders that are private stock type builders. But, these old Martins, they just have something. The music was created on that. It's like a Gibson mandolin just seems to be, the mandolin of choice, for most bluegrass players. I mean, there's a lot of great, mandolin builders out there, too, that make great mandolins, but so many of them are copied from the original design that Lloyd Loar, designed for Gibson back in the 20s, in 22 and 23 and 24. But there's just something about, these Martin guitars. They're old, they're dry, they're just beat to death. You imagine having to stay up to Dell, for 2 hours at night, having that just pounded on you,
What year is that one, Dale?
That's a 56. It's pretty new, actually.
Yeah.
I started playing it in 66. It was brand new when I started playing it. But
Yeah.
I got to tell you a little story about Monroe. Remember Tut Taylor?
Uh-huh.
Well, Tut, Monroe's mandolin needed frets, when I was working for him.
Should have got Benny.
Yeah, he should have got, but he knew better than get Benny, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
But anyway, he was telling Tut, and Tut said, I'll put frets in that, So Tut took it, and he's playing it a little bit, and he said, Bill, you can't even play on one of these frets down here. I forget where it was, like in an F chord,
Mm-hmm.
Bill said, I know, I play around that. And he'd been doing it for years,
I play around.
Dierks, we've heard your story.
I got to follow Dell. I was just sitting there thinking the same thing about Dell. There's only a few guys who can really drive a band like with the guitar, like Dell, Tony, and that rhythm playing, and that just it's a cannon up there. I couldn't hear y'all. Just hear Dell's guitar booming in there. But Dell and Brian on the same stage. Yeah, two of my favorites.
Can we get a song out of you?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to.
I got a guitar if you don't use it.
Mine's newer.
Oh, he's got a good.
No,
he does.
That's guitar.
Quick little Dale story while he's getting ready. Dale told me one time when he came in here to work with Monroe that all he brought with him was his guitar and his suitcase and my songbook.
Used to, when I'd go in the recording studio, you always needed songs, and I'd take a Mac Wiseman songbook with me, because if I needed it, there they were,
Yeah.
That's great.
And I've lost that song, but go ahead.
I'm the same way as Dell. I can walk out in front of a couple thousand people every night and not be nervous at all, but just playing in front of my country peers is one thing, but being in front of this crowd is definitely pretty nerve-wracking for me, and it's great. It's hard to look out there because I got some sort of story about everyone. I'll just look at Sam. Oh, man.
Hey, Dierks. If I had hair like you, I wouldn't wear a hat either.
Oh, man. My hair is it's gone through several different phases, but this is the summer cut, the easy version of it. It's been long,
No,
it's
this
been
is
short.
the summer
but,
cut.
Yeah, that's the summer cut. Hey, I'm working towards that. I got 3 kids now. I'm working towards that haircut real soon. It's happening day by day. I don't even know where to begin to introduce this song, but I just somewhere back in 2009, I was on the road, and I just was like, man, I really want to get off the grid for a little bit and make a record that I want to make under my own terms. And luckily, my record label, Mike Dunn, was like, go ahead and do what you want to do. And so I got together with John Randall, one of my good friends. Everyone knows him here under different terms. Randy, John Randall, J.R. Whispers, I think was his name back. Maybe he was playing with you, Sam. He, we got together and just had a chance to make a record that we really wanted to make and invite a lot of friends to be part of it. And we went up to New York to cut this old song with the Punch Brothers, and had a great time cutting it with them. And so this is part of my Up on the Ridge album, and we'll give it a go.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Rovin Gambler, I've gambled all around. Whoever I meet with a deck of cards, I lay my money down. Sing along if you want. Lay my money down, lay my money down. I had not been in Frisco many more weeks than 3. I met up with a pretty little girl, she fell in love with me. Fell in love with me, fell in love with me. I left her in Frisco and I wound up in Maine. I met up with a poker player and got in a poker game. Got in a poker game, got in a poker game. He threw his money in the pot and dealt the cards around. and I saw him deal from the bottom of the deck. Shot the gambler down. Shot the gambler down. Shot the gambler down. She took me to her parlor. She whispered low in her mother's ear, I love the gambling man. Love the gambling man. Love the gambling man. Oh dear daughter, how can you treat me so and leave your dear old mother and with the gambler go? With the gambler go. With the gambler go. Down in prison, got a number for my name. The warden said he slammed the door. You gambled your last game. Gambled your last game. Gambled your last game. Gambled your last game. Gambled your last game.
That's why you don't miss rehearsal. That practicing stuff helps.
Let me ask you a question. What do your contemporaries in modern country music, what do they think of this side of your career?
Oh, man, it's hard. You know, I don't know if there's anyone out there that's doing what I'm doing really, you know, loves it or knows as much about it from my world. The guys in my band love bluegrass music. You know, Brian Lace and Ricky, you know Brian, and Tim Surgeon, who plays, you know, he's played with everyone. He's a great banjo. He's definitely underutilized. A lot of guys in my band are underutilized, way overly skilled, but they all love it, and we listen to it a lot. And as far as my contemporaries go, I don't know. I don't really spend. It's weird being out on the road. You kind of hang out with your guys and don't really see a lot of anyone else unless it's at a memorial service or a backstage at some sort of award show. But amongst my band and people I hang out with, yeah.
Well, you're in a position, because of the fact that you get played on country radio and stuff, you're in a position to take bluegrass music and the elements of traditional country music and expose it to a whole lot of new people. And I think everybody in this room would cheer for that.
Oh, absolutely.
That you could do that.
I heard Kyle talk about, you know, and it is kind of like spread the news, you know, spread the news of bluegrass. And I don't, you know, my first two records, we had a track on there with the Del McCoury band, Della, and I sang my very first record back in 2003, a song that I wrote called Train Travelin'. And then on the second record, Modern Day Drifter, we did A Good Man Like Me.
Thanks.
And so anybody buying one of my records, you know, immediately, if they hadn't known who Del was, they did. And then the Graskels were part of the third record I did, Terry and,
that's good.
And James up there. And so it's always been a part of it, you know, part of that. And that's what I've always loved about Ricky's records is there's always been that, you know, element. You know, back when he was having huge country hits, a lot of those songs, and they were bluegrass songs, but nobody knew better. You know, they thought they were country songs. And
Kyle, what do you think? You think that somebody like Dierks, and I don't know how many others there are, but I mean, is this something that bluegrass really needs, something it can use? What's your take on the younger?
I think bluegrass benefits every time a guy like that takes the stage and says good things about bluegrass music. And I think bluegrass does need that. But moreover, Bill, I think country music needs this. Because what Dierks is doing is he is exposing country artists to something that is real. And what bluegrass is real music. This very well may be the last holdout for real music in American entertainment, bluegrass. And these guys who have discovered that and who recognize it. And, you know, I mentioned Alan Jackson a while ago, having done a recent album, and so many others that have done bluegrass albums and play bluegrass songs. That's only good for the country fan as well, because they see a side of country music that is sadly missing, if I can editorialize a little bit. But it's great for bluegrass. It truly is.
I got a funny story, actually. In my hometown, when I go and visit, I had to go and meet with some school children there, and this little girl, she says, I see your name around here all the time. What do you do? And I said, well, I'm a singer. What kind of music? And I said, bluegrass. She says, oh, like Dierks Bentley sings.
I felt so bad. I was in my hometown. I was back in Phoenix, and Tim O'Brien was coming through town playing, and up in Sedona or somewhere. And I was reading, Tim O'Brien, reading the paper. You know, read this great article about Tim. And the first question she'd asked him in the paper was about, you know, working on my Up on the Ridge record, and a question about me and bluegrass. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, this is Tim O'Brien, you know, one of the greats of all time. Don't ask him about me, you know. And Tim was, you know, he said something. It's always good when someone like Dierks or Steve Martin, you know, gets into it, you know, and spreads the news of it and all that. But I'll always be a fan first and foremost, and a student of it second, and then you know, a picker, you know, wannabe strummer third. But I do love the music, and it's
okay. Question.
Big fan.
What does the bluegrass community think? And I'll just direct this to you, and everybody else wants to join in. When somebody like an Alan Jackson does a bluegrass album, do you resent that for any like maybe he's coming in to take away a spot that they could be playing a Ricky Skaggs record and they're playing Alan Jackson and I'm bluegrass and he's not? Do you resent that, or do you see that as a positive?
I think most bluegrass people see it as a real positive. However, there is a few that, you know, that's like how many bluegrass people does it take to screw in a light bulb? You know, one, and then two to stand around and cuss it because it's electric. You know, so, you know, but I've had so much criticism, you know, in the past 30 years, but, you know, you're never going to please everybody, and I realized a long time ago, if I can please myself and please, I know I always try to please God in everything that I do. With the music and always honor Him with it, you know. But I just feel like, you know, if we can please ourselves, that's a big task right there, you know. And because we know what we like, we know what's good, and you know, and our friends and, you know, our musician friends, they're always, you know, always encouraging us, you know, along the way. And I think that's a big part of what the music, especially with bluegrass. Now, me and Bobby was talking yesterday, you know, about, you know, just how it was back, you know, in the older days, back in the, you know, in the 40s and 50s, you know, with Flat Scruggs being in Monroe's band, and then Ralph and Carter Stanley starting, you know, about that same time, you know, and they were really the first band to come out of that Bill Monroe Bill Monroe Flat Scruggs sound that Bill had done, and. You know, just the animosity and the criticism and the you know, judging that, you know, but I don't think there's as much of it anymore. I think this younger generation, you know, we're all fans of each other's. We all want to see each other do great, and the fact now that there's these elders that we've learned so much from are still around, and they mean the world to us. Mm-hmm. I think when you're encouraging others and blessing others and coming under others and telling them, you know, how great they've been and what their music has meant to us. That's right. Then you ain't got time to criticize other things. You know, you're spending all your time on focusing on the right thing, on really giving someone, you know, building them up. And so I think that's what the music has needed for a long time, and there's just a lot of love and respect, I think, with the musicians, you know.
There's no boy sitting back over here that knows a little bit about what you're talking about, because you have, he's been a part of your group, and he's played with Bobby and Sonny, and I'm talking about Paul Brewster. Yeah. You've got your own record out now?
Yes, sir. Sure do. Well, I had one I recorded about 10 years ago, and I've got a new one out now.
Only 10 years between records?
Yeah, that's just, yeah. Just
no need rushing things.
No, I'm not going to rush too. Don't get too fast in this bit.
So you've been a part of bluegrass music in one way or another?
Yeah.
How many years?
Through my dad and everything else. The Brewster brothers back many years ago, and they tried out for the Solemn Old Judge way back in the 40s when my Uncle Ray was alive. And there's a lot
in your DNA.
Yeah, it sure is. I've been around it all my life, and I love it, and I love Ricky and Osborne brothers. Grew up with Sonny and Bobby, and I feel like a fly on the wall today. I'm just a fly on the wall, and taking all this in from all this history, learning a lot, and going with it. People like Dierks, taking it to all these different places all around the world, and just showing it's a true love. It's not a joke. He's not kidding. Yeah. And it's real, and it's just like the music. It's real.
Yeah. Let's get a song out of you while you're getting ready. Rhonda, I think you had your hand up there.
I was just thinking, bluegrass music is probably loved by most people. If you play bluegrass music, you have a love for it. It's not just necessarily it's not a business, it's not a career, it's a love first, and you appreciate the music. As you were saying, with everyone that's here, you grew up with that music, or you have discovered new music, and you love that music. The other thing I wanted to say is that when bluegrass music has been in the mainstream, for me personally, it hasn't been giving the best of images. They think that we're barefoot, we're toothless, and I think that's something that Bill Monroe, he dressed up when he was on stage, and Flatt and Scruggs did that. It's just when the mainstream gets a hold of that, they think of it as hillbilly music. And that's why when we go on stage, when the guys and I, they're dressed in suits, and we dress in. I might wear a Vera Wang gown, and yes, we can play bluegrass music, but I think people are surprised at that, and I think that's something that these days, to say yes, we can go on stage and we are presenting this in a professional manner, and whenever it's discovered, if people hear it and they seem to love it, but they're also a lot of times surprised. It's like, wow, I came to the show and you're wearing a gown. It's like, yes, we can do that, and it's okay.
Kyle, do you notice in the radio at Bluegrass Junction, is the audience growing significantly? Is it getting any younger? Is it who is your audience?
Oh, I think so. We cover the entire spectrum of bluegrass listeners, of course, and we have a lot of older people who listen. But I hear from a lot of young people all the time who are really into what's happening in bluegrass music today. They like what Dierks does with the Punch Brothers. They like that newer progressive stuff. The more out there kind of stuff, but a lot of them love traditional bluegrass too. The stone cold bluegrass music, as
Junior
they say.
Sisk.
The Junior Sisk. Yes. I mean, Junior Sisk is the male vocalist of the year this year, and he's as traditional as they get. We ought to say here, while we're talking about this whole thing of bluegrass and country and fans and so forth, Bill, you and I come from a generation, and I know Ricky does too, and a lot of people in the room, where there wasn't a distinction in the music. It was all country music.
That's right.
And I grew up on the Grand Ole Opry, and I would listen, and I would hear Bill Anderson, and I would hear Flatt and Scruggs, and I would hear Bill Monroe.
And Patsy Cline.
And then I'd hear, it's somebody like that, and it was all the same.
That's right.
It all came from the same place. And I think these musical walls that we build up sometimes become a little bit arbitrary and unnecessary.
Well put.
And the Osborne brothers were it was a natural thing for them to do what they did because they bridged that music so well.
Bobby and I had that discussion yesterday because we started using some drums on our show about our second year in, here and there on the road. And we caught quite a bit of flack for that up front. And I was, asking Bobby, how did you guys deal with that? Did you catch flack? And I found out from Bobby they caught a lot of flack, but
Turn Sonny loose on them.
Turn Sonny.
If you got Sonny, you don't care.
You know him too.
Well, you guys use pedal steel guitar on some of your records. I know in my disc jockey days I used to play them.
Pianos?
The first.
Did you take flack for that?
The first session, the early sessions that we did for MGM Records, Fair and Tender Ladies, Each Season Changes You. We had Pete Drake played the steel guitar on that right there. And we didn't, I don't see how we got away with what we did, but we sure did, I don't know, but
you're the best.
We started using steel guitar. The pedal steel guitar, it was so perfect with the harmony that we had. I mean, it just
enhanced it.
It suited it better than this thing here did, So it really, the ballads that we did.
Oh yeah.
The pedal steel guitar, it just fit it. We started taking it on the road with us once we thought we would get shot for that.
Yeah.
So,
with all due respect to Mr. George Jones, the greatest country singer in the world, this gentleman right here did the best George Jones songs, and
Yes,
that
he did.
nobody could touch.
That's right. Yeah.
When the grass grows over me. All these great songs. That's the truth. It's hard to do a
Bobby-
George Jones song.
Bobby and Sonny made it okay
Yeah.
to sing country songs with bluegrass instruments. They were the
The rite
ones
of
that took
passage.
them, they did. They took the music and went that direction with it. It was bluegrass in every element of it, but especially with the souped up harmonies that they did. But it was country song.
Yeah.
If
If you think about it, Bill Monroe was different than anybody in his day. He was a trailblazer. There's always been somebody that came along, and that's what Bobby and Sonny did. And then, like a little while later, the Newgrass Revival, they opened up the road
did.
even more.
Thank you.
We can't leave out
Thank
Jim
you.
and Jesse, though.
That's right.
No,
Yeah.
you cannot live out Jim and Jesse. Amen. So
Absolutely.
One thing we did that I never laid the mandolin down, and Sonny always had the banjo. Anything that we did, it had those two instruments in there.
Yeah.
That's true.
And with the singing, we had a different. Our trio harmony singing was the most different thing to come along at that period of time. But we never, any song we ever did, I played that on all of them. And Sonny, we always featured that in the banjo.
Yeah.
And I think that was the bluegrass people. They put up. I remember Paul Mullins. They called him Moon up there in Middletown, Ohio. When we put out that album of Up This Hill and Down, we did In the Pines on it, and so we put it in another key, and put the high lead harmony and all that with it. Well, Moon, he didn't want to. He had a DJ show up there in Middletown. He told me one. He says, "Boy," he said, "I really love that In the Pines that you guys did." He said that was really simple. He says, "I just hate a doggone piano." I said, "Well."
Bobby, how
I said,
did
"What do you think about the singing?" "Oh, that singing's fine."
Love it myself.
So
Daddy says him's fighting
Buck White's over here speaking up with the piano.
Thank you.
You got a mic on you.
When I started playing music, I was a big music listener, a radio listener. When I was a little kid, listening to Del Rio, and then Opry come along whenever we could get it in Texas, which wasn't always good between weather. But my mama played that radio, and I was soaking all that in, And when I got old enough to set up to the piano with my grandma, she played those old hymns with her little hands, and I got to watching her and following her. And Dad went to the service, and there was that piano, and I'd come in and play that, And I listened to all kinds of stuff, and I loved bluegrass when I heard it. Loved it. And I tried to, had to have a mandolin, so I went and bought one, and played that, but I play the piano too. And it mixed pretty good now. I know, I've done it. And you could make that piano sound like a banjo.
Yeah.
I play the same licks on the piano. What's wrong with that, Well,
Nary a thing.
I'm not starched up, I would do what people like
and what you like.
and what I like.
There you go.
And there's nothing wrong with what Bobby and Sonny did. They're trying to make a good living and trying to up their pay, and they change a little something.
It's art.
Yeah.
That's
It's
right.
art. You're
Everybody
supposed to
can't do the
create.
same thing in every band.
Yeah.
You've got to be different.
We're artists.
Well, we was that.
Well,
sure.
I'll stand up for all the instruments, just about all.
I know one time we was up in Berryville, Virginia. We first put them amplifiers on the stage,
We were
We had
there.
a stage
We were there.
covered up with amps. And we got, I don't know, some of them people liked it and some of them didn't. Some of them didn't say a word about it. I don't know why they didn't, but
They saw
anyway.
Sonny.
Carlton Haney. They might have looked at Sonny and was afraid to say anything about it. I don't know. Carlton Haney, he said, I want you boys to bring them amps over here. He says, we're gonna teach these people what bluegrass sounds like
Gotta be heard.
electrified.
Yeah.
So we did that. But we got about the fourth song we did, there was some guy sitting down there about 10 o'clock. He said, we did one of them ballads. He says, I don't like that electric stuff you guys doing. Just stood right up. Wow. I said, well, they got a bathroom out there, and you can go out there while we're on, but we're going to finish it.
What'd you say back?
I wanted to echo both what Ricky said and Bobby as well. I remember when they was working with Haggard, and of course the acoustical instruments and all the electrical instruments they had, it was tough to get the audience to swap, you see. But when they started doing that stuff with their modern drums and stuff like that, it wasn't so much the people, it was the promoters of bluegrass music. I remember a few times they wouldn't even let you park backstage, Bobby. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
I remember a lot of stuff.
But to echo what Ricky said there, he's true to himself, and I think that's the whole secret to this thing. If you're going to expect to have any longevity in it, you got to stand for your own rights and not be afraid to shout out loud.
Yeah.
And it sounds a bit trite, but wasn't but one man that tried to please everybody that nailed him to the cross.
Paul Brewster's growing old up here waiting to sing their song. Lay it on us, Paul.
No. So we'll get back to Bill Monroe now. But I think this was a hit song for Bill Monroe.
You got a powerful check on that.
Got a powerful check on that. This was back before Earl Scruggs came along in bluegrass music, and I've got the honor to sing this with Kentucky Thunder, thanks to Ricky, and it's been a blessing to me, actually. And I think this might have been Bill's first #1 song, or first big hit that he had. It's called Kentucky Waltz.
We were waltzing that night in Kentucky beneath the beautiful harvest moon, and I was a boy that was lucky, but it all ended too soon. As I sit here alone in the moonlight, I see your smiling face, and I long once more for your embrace and that beautiful Kentucky waltz. As I sit here alone in the moonlight, I see your smiling face, and I long once more for your embrace and that beautiful Kentucky waltz.
Yeah, Paul.
Paul Brewster. Great job. Great job. Stay standing up because we're going to break for lunch.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.